Halloween, again. I don't typically play scary games or horror games, unless you count survival horror, a genre which is neither horror nor survival. It is a fungus. People say Resident Evil 4 was scary and 5 wasn't because they were younger when they played 4. Both games were horror themed, but one was in the dark. But I digress because the last thing I need is to get sucked into another furious tangent. A horror game I did play is Fear, released in 2005 by Monolith Productions, creators of Blood, Shogo MAD, and Condemned Criminal Origins. Fear is not a scary game, but more of a startling one. Despite regularly and unrepentantly committing the cardinal sins of jump scares and screech music, it still manages to be an excellent game because of the great story and sweet cinematic gunfights. But I don't want to review Fear, that's lazy, and it's close to my bedtime, so instead I'm reviewing SAS Secure Tomorrow, a budget game that's legitimately scary for how bad it is. SAS Secure Tomorrow is a wolf in tactical sheep's clothing, released in 2008 by City Interactive. It was built on the Jupiter EX iteration of Monolith's often licensed Lithtech engine, the same engine as Fear. So there you go, it all makes sense if you think about it and do some research. City Interactive, now known as CI Games, is a Polish developer and publisher put together of two different PC game developers and publisher Lemon Interactive. Usually I will be the first to recommend Eastern European games to people. The two defining characteristics of Eastern European games are bold design and buggy code. Some of my favorite games are from that whole Slavic region. Is that what you call it? I'm torn between wanting to save time and wanting not to be racist. Just to throw a few out there that you should check out: Stalker, Shadow of Chernobyl by GSC Game World of Ukraine, 762 High Caliber by Apiron of Russia, Sea Dogs by Akela, also of Russia, Chrome by Techland from Poland, Secret Service by Fun Labs, Romanian developer. All of these will be worth your time and money, because time is cheap and they don't cost that much. None of these were made by City Interactive. Okay? You see what I'm getting at? I've been over the varieties of budget games before, but if you need a refresher, here's a quick one. Type 1 budget games are the budget-priced re-releases of older full-priced games. These are games with nice green, red, platinum, yellow, or whatever color borders that totally ruin the cover art. It's still a nicer product than budget PC re-releases, which come in cheapo jewel cases or folded cardboard sleeves. Type 2 budget games are those Eastern European gems. They're cheap because they're unpolished, or because it's too hard to sell a game from an unestablished brand and an unknown foreign developer. I love these games. I want to try them all. Type 3 budget games are schlock and shelf stuffers and mockbusters. Type 3 budget games are designed to look kind of like popular games, so impressionable youngsters will have their disinterested parents buy them at the grocery store. These games are spat out in the shortest possible time with existing assets or largely unmodified commercial game engines. CI's CV contains a lot of these. The Battle Strike series of World War II games, for example, which is called Battle Strike. Battle Strike. That's like one of the lazy fake names Zombie Simpsons would come up with. Also, Combat Wings, Terrorist Takedown, and Sniper Ghost Warrior, which is probably their most popular game because everybody always wants to play the sniper. Let's look at the box. Why not? Should kill some time. I've got the slimline UK DVD case version with a cardboard sleeve. The sleeve has the exact same info on it as the dust jacket, but I can't bring myself to throw it away.
I don't take the hubcaps off, really, because they protect the hubs.
As I recall, I ordered a US version, or at least tried to, but it showed up with a BBFC rating on it. The BBFC is the British Board of Film Classification, which usually doesn't rate video games. Apparently, video games only have to be BBFC rated if they're pornographic or contain excessive violence. As of 2010, the responsibility to rate video games in the UK has been shuffled off to the Video Standards Council, which administers the PEGI rating system, which stands for Pan-European Game Information. This probably sounds incredibly pedantic if you're from somewhere in the EU, but I promise I'm going somewhere with it. I don't like the look of European video game ratings. The use of plain numbers seems arbitrary. The PEGI rating actually differentiates between games for 16 and 18-year-olds. I don't think there is a difference between 16 and 18-year-olds. I mean, legally, there is, and I understand that, but my gaming taste and intellectual maturity didn't change between my sophomore and senior years of high school, or since. The front cover art is decent, but generic. Assume the positions. What, like sex positions? The rest of the Polnglish reads about as well. perfectly organized terrorist group has rescued their leader from a high-security prison. A perfectly organized terrorist group? I feel like we joined that sentence already in progress. Now SAS steps in. At the time... Wait. We were in the past tense for a sentence, then the present tense, and now we're in the past again? It's like somebody wrote this copy while undergoing random time skips. Switch your M4 rifle from assault to sniper mode any time during the game. I will now use my keen powers of observation to determine whether this counts as a feature or not. Nope. Standard SAS equipment, including infrared visor. Never heard a pair of NVGs called an infrared visor before. M84 flashbangs. Okay, they're used in scripted sequences by NPCs. Partial credit. And S10 gas mask. The SAS character models have gas masks, yes. When you spend 40 seconds in a gaseous environment once in the whole game, it's assumed that your gas mask protects you, but it's not a piece of usable or removable equipment. It seems duplicitous to advertise details of a character model as a feature. Element of surprise, stun grenades, save hostages? That sounds almost like a real mechanic, but it isn't. There are some hostages in a cutscene, and that's the extent of it. The back cover also says, register and get the key for a full bonus game on CD/DVD. I did some research and found out that City Interactive usually includes a bonus game or two with every game they release. If you fill out a survey on their website, they give you a code to enter in the install process. This is awesome. What a cool incentive and a fun thing to do for a game publisher. Of course, that being said, the survey links don't work, so you can't get the codes anymore. Anyway, I'm skipping the manual because it's 2 sheets of paper glued together, with information occupying only 5 of the 6 available interior pages. The only fun thing is the last page where they forgot to translate Vorige Waffe from German, I guess? Google Translate said it's Afrikaans, but that seems unlikely. If I come up with a few more paragraphs about the packaging and history of the game, I can seriously cut into the amount of time I have to spend talking about Secure Tomorrow, which would be great, because it's not very good. The screenshots make it look a bit like Fear, which should be great because Fear had excellent visual effects, super smart AI, and a good story. I find it hard to imagine any version of Lithtech being used for a tactical shooter without heavy modification, and I also find it hard to imagine any heavy modification being done to a game engine with this kind of budget. SAS Secure Tomorrow carries forward the floaty controls from Fear, and literally nothing else. There is no creativity in the level design. This is a cheapo corridor shooter with a tactical veneer. The awesome bullet impact effects from Fear are missing. The AI is either not as good, or the levels don't allow them to do as much. My money is on not as good. The weapon selection is decent, with some good variety, but none of them seem that well made. They feel jumpy and ineffective. Look at how friggin' spastic the P226 is. Fear's awesome bicycle kicks and slide tackles are replaced with a pathetic knife swipe that never seems to connect. It's difficult to be killed because of a generous regenerating health bar, but when I did, it was usually because I tried to use melee in combat instead of waiting for a gun to finish loading. It's an instinctive reaction I picked up from playing every FPS since Halo 2, but in Secure Tomorrow, it's not the right move. The story is told in a flashback briefing, which I'm already pretty tired of, but like with the text blurbs on the box, the order of events seems confusing. There are a few snippets of funny dialogue, and the writing is shockingly decent, and it's so British.
We'll be calling him Mint.
Mint? Why mint?
'Cause you're sodding flesh, mate.
The game takes place partly in England, so you see cool landmarks like the London Eye during a level where you rescue hostages in a London skyscraper.
I want to go to a pub, get a few pints, and tie a bun on. Now piss off!
So British!
At least we can find out how those twats fled.
Everybody has English accents of various flavors, and playing a military-themed game that wasn't all about America was a novel experience. The SAS are a hardcore bunch of dudes, and I could stand to play more games about them. I think I already have, though. There are more than a few parallels to Call of Duty Modern Warfare, like the scenes where you breach doors in slow motion. In 2008. Modern Warfare 2 came out in 2009? Oh, my brain is on fire. Did Modern Warfare 2, the best told story ever told, rip off the slow motion breaching sequences from SAS Secure Tomorrow, which was itself ripping off the SAS versus Russian ultranationalists plot from Modern Warfare 1? The hell with it. The sequences are cool. If you're gonna use Fear's Lithtech engine, you might as well use Fear's slow motion, right? Just like in Fear, the ragdoll and blood effects are fun and gory in slow motion, but I think they overdid it a tiny bit. These little stack up, breach, and clear moments are as close to tactical as Secure Tomorrow gets. You don't tell the guys to stack up, they just do it on their own when it's time to move into a new area. You don't have control over your squaddies at all, and since you carry 4 guns at a time, tank damage like a Spartan, and massacre a number of guys that would make the Doom Marine uncomfortable in levels that would make the Doom engine very proud of itself, I'm going to call SAS Secure Tomorrow a Call of Duty ripoff. It is a tactical-themed console-style corridor shooter. I was more or less on board with the game, for the price at least, but the first level was in a prison. Prison levels are almost always an excuse for blocky, repetitive, arbitrary level layouts and monochromatic textures. I can only think of one game that made prison a genuinely interesting place to be. Every other prison level I can think of off the top of my head sucked the big one. After that was the decent level in the London Tower. Then the Greenland ice world with stupidly implausible level geometry. The second half of the Greenland level is underground, so the scenery is a darker version of the same repetitive corridors and staircases. And then you shoot the bad guy and it's over. The whole game. For a few seconds, it looks like this is the inciting incident of the second half of the game. A terrorist mini-boss is down, and now you have to find the guy pulling the strings behind his Raygon laptop? What brand is that? But it's not to be.
Flashbang! Drop it, twat! Drop the gun, down on the floor!
The SAS captain wraps up his flashback monologue saying, "And then we captured the other terrorist," and the credits roll. That's 3 levels, and 2 of them were so bad they didn't count. The blurb on the back advertising levels, it's advertising all of the levels. I know people are tired of negativity about video games, but there's a reason it exists. Most video games are awful. The bar to entry is so low, guys. It's one thing to make a positive, happy review of a classic or an overlooked gem. It is entirely another thing to find something nice to say about goddamn shovelware. Do you think 10 years from now people are going to be positive about the garbage dump that was the Wii library? No. The first 2 budget games I covered on this show were Secret Service In Harm's Way and Chrome, easily the 2 best budget games I've encountered, and they've spoiled me. Every other budget game seems like Transmorphers by comparison. I can't tell if this game has any redeeming features, but I don't think it does. In 2008, nobody was falling for this crapola anymore. Some of the setting and tactical trappings look superficially similar to other games, but SAS Secure Tomorrow is a cheap imitation, and everybody knows that, even your mom. In 2006, Konami released a very similar looking game called The Regiment. It's also about the SAS, but it actually has tactics and squad mechanics, and it looks very interesting. Of course, I can't find a copy of it to save my life. eBay doesn't usually let me down like this. If you guys ever come across one in the wild and want to donate it to the project, that would absolutely make my day. Until then, I guess Call of Duty is still the place to get your SAS fix. And that's a truly dark and scary note to end this Halloween episode on. .762 High Caliber, Apiron? 762 High Caliber by Apiron? 762 High Caliber by Apiron of Russia. Oh, fuck.